we discussed the new F9 Fast and the Furious 9 trailer that came out. We talked about what does it mean, John Cena's, all this kind of stuff. The fact that we've seen Han in it. So there's a lot of people talking about what's going on with Fast 9. And according to the trailer, at least what it looked like from the trailer, was that clearly our villain, besides Charlize Theron, who's obviously still a villain as well, that the villain was in fact going to be John Cena. And his name is John Cena. John Cena's our villain. But hold on a second, Rob. Maybe looks are a little bit deceiving, perhaps? So he was basically asked, this is what's going on. John Cena was asked, actually Vin Diesel and John Cena together were asked, so John Cena's the villain, right? And, Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel himself, says, well, all characters are multidimensional. But then John Cena came straight up and said the following. He said, when asked if he's the villain, we'll leave it for the audience. We'll leave it for the Fast family around the world to decide who's bad and who's good. Keep in mind, the trailer shows just enough for you to have a ton of questions and me not being able to answer all of them. Rob, as the one probably most excited in this house about the upcoming Fast 9 movie, you're hearing John Cena say this. What do you think the implications, if any, there are behind his statements and what he just said?
Well, John, there are many villains that are misunderstood, and all of our best villains think that what they're doing is somehow not villainous. And with this franchise, as we're talking about them approaching orbit and finally going into space and having pod races around the moon, you just never know. And I would tend to think that they want to keep it ambiguous. Maybe he's deep undercover the way Dom was in Furious 8. I don't know. I mean, like you said, is Jakob, the brother we've never heard about, really Dom's brother? Are they blood brothers? Is it something else? Maybe he's cloned. Maybe he's a Jedi that was secreted away on Earth after Order 66 was given. Who knows? With this franchise, anything goes. They've definitely billed him as the villain. But then again, Hobbs, who started to be, let's call him an antagonist in Fast 5, turned out to be a compatriot until they actually had a falling out in the real world. So maybe it turned into something like that. Maybe it's Charlize Theron who's truly still the real villain. Maybe she's behind it all. Maybe Han is the villain. I don't know. All I know is, John, # justice is served.
But is justice served? I mean, if Han's alive, that means no justice was ever required. If he's alive, no justice was required. Here, I'll tell you what I think this statement means. Here's what I think this statement means. This statement that John Cena just made means that the speculation that a lot of the fans had after seeing this trailer, that one of two things are going to happen at the end of this movie with John Cena's character. Number one, he's sitting down and saying grace at the table with the family at the end. Or two, he dies in Dominic's arms at some point, having become the good guy. Like, that was mentioned by a couple of viewers yesterday, that we totally believe that is ultimately what's going to happen with John Cena's character here. And I think this statement just kind of reaffirms that. I think he's going to kind of be the misunderstood, and we're going to get the same. Jason, you mentioned The Rock was kind of the antagonist at one point. Jason Statham was the antagonist at one point. Now Shaw's a hero in the franchise. I don't see any possibility that this movie ends with John Cena's character, alive or dead, not being a hero. I just don't see any way around. I just don't see a scenario here, Rob, where this movie doesn't end and John Cena's the hero. Alive or dead, he's the hero. What do you think?
I think that's probably, knowing this franchise as well as I do, I think that's probably a good bet. Although, knowing that this is also leading into the 10th and supposedly final Fast and Furious movie, as we talked about yesterday, I want to see an epic, just knockdown, drag. It looks like we get a couple of great girl fights in this movie again, but I think we're going to get The Rock versus John Cena in Fast 10. That's what everybody wants. And actually, I didn't know I wanted it until you mentioned it yesterday on the show, but I've been thinking about little else, John. And I hope that
The Rock versus Cena,
whether he's good or bad, I just know that he needs to fight The Rock. I need to see John Cena and The Rock. Don't you want to see that?
Oh, I think everybody wants to see it on, even if it's on an absurd, morbid curiosity level. I think everybody wants to see that to some degree. The question here is, guys, you've now heard John Cena's comments. How does this affect your view of the upcoming movie? Do you think this pretty much confirms that he's going to turn good, or maybe he's not even all that bad? Or do you think this is a little bit of misdirect and maybe he is the bad guy who's been behind it all along, the architect of all your pain, Dom? Maybe he was it. I don't know. Jump down into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right.